You're listening to the After the Show movie podcast from ascully.com. You can find this podcast on the iTunes Music Store, Google Play, YouTube, voice assistants, just say listen to After the Show movie podcast. And you can also find us on ascully.com, where we post written reviews. With that out of the way, here are your hosts, A Scully and Sid Talk. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Oh, am I everybody?
Yeah, you're the person on the other microphone.
Oh, we're not actually. I see. You don't actually expect anyone to listen. So I'm everybody.
You're everybody in this room.
Right. So I am fully responsible to engage in conversation with you. These people never talk back to you. That's so sad.
No. Well, they do, actually. I was just talking. I got some feedback.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I get feedback, sometimes. What was before the after the show? What were we talking about before we start? We're talking about this movie
a lot, yeah. Mostly this movie.
This movie, yeah, we'll probably talk about this movie quite a bit, because it's a bit,
Yeah.
we tend to talk. Well, we'll talk about it when we get to the movie. It's Saturday, June the 22nd. This is After the Show 587. This is a movie review podcast. Me, A Scully, and you, Sid Talk. We review a movie each week. This movie we're reviewing this week is Under the Silver Lake. It's a 2018 movie. Releases on Blu-ray this week. No, actually, yes, it does. It releases on Blu-ray and DVD. It's already out on streaming. It's from our friends at Lionsgate, who sent us a copy for review. It's rated R. And Sid Talk will give you the synopsis of Under the Silver Lake.
No, she won't.
Do you want to give him that one off the box?
But it's incorrect. The one off the box is not correct. It's a guy seeking a girl, but also a bit of existential meaning of life. What's the point?
It's hard to actually boil
Everything
it down.
is pointless. But it is a bit of an adventure show. It's just not an adventure like going across country or anything.
It's not Road Trip.
Is that something to compare it to? No, it is not.
No.
It has no synopsis.
Yeah, the synopsis actually on the back of the box actually gets the plot slightly wrong, which is weird. I mean, it tells you... Spoilers? Should we say spoilers?
Well, yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm not sure how you can spoil it, except that we went in knowing nothing. And so...
I think you could definitely spoil it.
Being told anything, though, is kind of a ruiner. So we're going to change the word. We're going to ruin it for you.
No, because that
we'll ruin the experience of not knowing.
Yeah, it's good. It's better
That's
if you don't know.
Do.
Definitely better if you've never heard about it. We saw the trailer for it in front of another Lionsgate movie, but it was quite a long time ago. This movie has been delayed like 4 times. And
release?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, the release has been delayed. So we saw a trailer so long ago, you don't even remember it, right? You didn't.
I've never seen that trailer.
You have seen the trailer?
No, I have not.
It was on the movie The Witch had a trailer for this on it.
I can guarantee you I didn't watch it then.
Well, you were sat right in front of the screen.
Yeah, well, I'm good at zoning out. Have you not noticed this before? Have you not been talking to me and then 5 minutes later go, right? And I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly, in last week's podcast.
That's where that trailer probably fell into that zone.
So, yeah, Under the Silver Lake has been around for a while. It played at the Cannes Film Festival also. But it kind of floated around, and I was looking forward to seeing it because of who directed it. It's directed by David Robert Mitchell, who you will remember directed a movie called It Follows, which was a horror movie that we actually did a podcast on, probably 3 years ago, I would say, right?
Yeah.
And it was a very good horror movie. It had a really interesting premise, and it was well executed.
But I remember saying it was a bit preachy or pretentious.
Yeah, but it was not like anything you'd seen before, and that was its selling point for me. Like, oh, it's this... we won't spoil It Follows, but the actual premise of it was like, oh, wow, I don't think I've seen that before. So this is David Robert Mitchell's follow-up to that, and it's not the same type of movie, is it? It's not even in the same ballpark, I don't think.
I disagree with that.
It's not a horror movie,
it is also examining like relationships, meaningful human interaction, and like the throwaway value of it, or in that case, using it for something else. I don't know. I feel like they've got that same sort of dreamy, almost like what's it called in Stranger Things? The other place.
Upside Down.
The Upside Down. It's like that. Like it's like the world, but not quite. It's a little bit extra realistic or something.
I have a friend who loves It Follows, but I would not recommend him this movie.
Too long and not enough stuff going on.
Yeah.
Because It Follows has a very specific premise.
And definitely not a horror movie. It's something different than that.
It Follows?
No, this.
Oh, correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
If you loved It Follows... In fact, even on the poster for this movie, it says from the director of It Follows. So they're even trying to sell it with the It Follows connection. But no. This is something different than that. And I will start off by saying I really loved it. And you know what? I bet I'm in a minority on this. And often I am, because I really like weird stuff. You do. There's a reason I like Twin Peaks, and there's a reason I like David Lynch movies and just odd stuff. Sometimes it doesn't even have to make sense for me. If it creates a really interesting vibe, and I'm in the vibe of it, and I just like what it's kind of selling, Get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This movie in particular, it takes place in Los Angeles, the Hollywood Hills, and it's got this kind of dreamlike thing where there's a lot of the music in this movie is it's not from old movies, but it reminds you of old movies.
True.
Like the golden era of Hollywood kind of soundtrack. But then what you're looking at is something completely different often. And you're like, whoa, this is a weird scene. This music doesn't seem in place with it. But for a weird reason, it all kind of mashes together and it seems interesting. Not seems interesting, it is interesting. So this movie, it follows the lead character played by Andrew Garfield. And did you have the feeling like at the beginning, the way I thought this movie was going was like, oh, this guy's just mental and he's like having a breakdown, right? Mm. And we just slowly
like adaptation or eternal mind. I always forget what it's called, but that kind of thing where you're like, oh, you're half in, half out of real reality.
Yeah, and he's neurotic and he's like looking around and everybody's watching him, and it felt like that type of movie, and that's what I kind of assigned myself to thinking it is. And it really isn't that at all, is it? I mean, he's not mental. Or is he? I don't know. I mean, it's not that, is it? It's not like he's some paranoid guy who's like, being messed with. There's actually something going on here that is real in this movie.
I mean, yes, but...
And I was really surprised by that, because I thought it was just all, things were a figment of his imagination. Everything he's kind of seeing is probably not really what he's seeing. He smokes a lot of weed and kind of he looks kind of stoned a lot. And I was like, okay, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We've seen that. We know a lot of the scenarios that he's going through are not actually really what's happening. It's what's in his mind. But that's not what's going on here. Everything is actually happening. Would you agree?
I mean, it is the way it's presented to us, but you...
Yeah, it's not like a fairy tale.
Yeah, we've actually talked about other movies though where you're still not sure when it's done.
Right.
Was that in their mind? Was it real? So
yeah,
I'm convinced it was real, but in this sort of alternate universe.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because there are murders and there's weird deaths with no explanation, no police, and then there's one with police, and then there's access to places and people that's very old school movie making and TV show making, where you just cut to it. You don't explain.
Yeah.
How.
That's part of the charm.
He just walks into a part, you don't, that is, and I love that. And it's consistent throughout. There's a very openness to conversations that are just cut to the chase. Question, answer, yes or no. There's not a lot of.
No.
The whole of it is mysterious, but then the interactions are very straightforward, which I really like.
Yeah, I almost felt like I was on this road trip. It's weird when you just said road trip earlier. It's not like a road trip movie where he's off in his car and he's driving across America, but he's wandering around and he's wandering into situations, and each thing he kind of wanders into is visually different than the last thing, and like, you know, a bit, it gets odder as it goes on. It's like, it's hard to explain what he's walking into, but he walks into like a weird hipster party, and the way people are talking when he's walking past them, it could be weird, but it also sounds just like what people say, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Like,
yeah.
There's like, because it's like, oh, those people are just being super pretentious, what they're saying in the background. It has really good surround sound, this movie, and you can listen to conversations that are happening in the room. And it just sounds like people just, they're saying stuff.
Yep.
But then you're like...
This is what I tell you all the time. People say stuff, and I'm listening in a conversation, and after 5 minutes, I'm like, nobody has said anything.
Right.
No one has said anything of any fucking value that adds anything to teach each other or anything at all. And that's what it was. I was like really tapped into that. Like, yep, that's how the world sounds. I was too.
And while it appears weird when you're listening to it, then you look at the scenario and you go, no, that's just how people would talk in that scenario. Like when he's literally got a plain white t-shirt on. He's in this like hipstery looking party. And this woman goes, I really like your shirt. Like, yeah. It's like, what are you saying? Like,
and he's got on a white t-shirt.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's just wearing...
I mean, we're talking plain, nothing. It's not even designed. It's like straight out of the Hanes package. It's got a little stain on the front.
Yeah, it's not like, it's nothing you would compliment anybody on it. And it's just this weird LA... What you often see movies portray LA as this... They either portray it as awesome or they portray it as this pretentious kind of cesspit. And this movie kind of goes in the... This place is kind of mucky and weird, and you might not really want to operate within this place because it's not really good. It's grim and grimy. And also, what else runs through this movie? He meets this girl at the beginning, very briefly. He talks to her, and then he goes in her house and almost makes out with her. Mm-hmm. And then the day after, she's just gone. Like, she's gone, her roommates have gone, there's nothing in her apartment anymore, she's gone. And then there's this, under the Silver Lake, there's this undercurrent that you keep seeing this news story on the news, that this rich guy, what would you say about this rich guy? He's gone missing, right?
Yeah.
Also.
He's like a Bruce Wayne of the city.
Yeah,
I don't know that he's a superhero. I'm just saying
like a mogul.
Like rich, yes, very known, very popular, big everything. Everybody knows who he is, and he goes missing.
So you keep seeing that mystery on the news and stuff. This guy's gone missing, and eventually, like this guy, we found this burned up scenario where this guy is actually dead, and these people were with him, and they're also dead, including this girl, who. I think he fell in love with it in this one night, right? Or he
didn't fall in love with anything. This was part of the point.
Or he was infatuated with her.
Only because of how she looked.
Yeah,
and
because
got stoned, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else to it.
He just got obsessed with her.
So he is a product of the mill grist or mill machine or whatever you call it that we're about to experience through his whole journey. That you've been brainwashed through all your life and generations before you to come to these conclusions. And one of them is he sees a hot girl, he wants to fuck her, and then because he doesn't get to fuck her the first time, he thinks he's in love with her. Yeah. That is the whole substance of his obsession. Can't have her this one time, therefore I'm going to chase her down. If he had had sex with her that night, I'm pretty sure there would be no movie.
But it's...
You know what I mean?
But while what I've just told you just sounds like a plot to a movie, it's more to it than that, right? And what I was surprised by was there's actually a big explanation as what's going on. And I didn't expect that, Mm-hmm. When
No, didn't expect that at all.
No, and it's, I expected to come out of this movie out the other end and not know what happened. And I was ready for that. I was like, okay, he's going to be investigating stuff and he's going to be rumbling through all these weird places and I'm going to enjoy the scenario of all the weird places. And then at the end, I might not be any the wiser of what happened, but I will have enjoyed this. But
yeah,
there's there's like a whole explanation to what happened. Like, there's the explanation with the what do you call him? The songwriter.
Yep.
There's a scene.
It's very layered. It's multi-layered.
Yeah,
it's like an onion.
There's a scene where he meets the songwriter and he gives him a big explanation of things that are going on under the Silver Lake, as so to speak. In the Hollywood thing and all the pop culture that, you know, something else is going on under the surface. And he explains it quite carefully. And you understand, after that meeting, what's going on there. And then after that, there's another thing about under the Hollywood Hills that I won't fully go into, but it is also very well explained exactly what that is. So I was like, whoa, we actually got resolution on two fronts there.
And it's not... I think that the people who you will find are like, it's confusing or there's nothing. It's either confusing or there's nothing here. Well, you're just not really... And it's not like multi-stories going on. It's not one of those. It's not a pastiche where you've got this story going on over here and then you cut over to this one. It's all layered, mixed up a little bit, and you have to do a little bit of the work yourself until you get the big exposition by the guy at the piano and the hippy-dippy guy in the hut, right? They're going to tell you where you've been going. And then you absorb it, and then you crisscross all the stuff in your mind, and you come to your own, like, oh, okay, I get it. A lot of people don't like that. They want it all laid out, every single scene, in 90 minutes, and that's it. Yeah, that's why I really like it.
It's not Beverly Hills Cop, let's say that. It's not like, it's not a straightforward movie. Yes, it's got this art house kind of deal going on that some people don't like. I actually do like. It's also got a surrealism element to it, I guess. Like a
little bit at times.
Yeah, you know, like... I
mean, it's not really, because once you've accepted a little bit of the weirdness in the beginning, then you can incorporate it into whatever else you end up seeing, I think.
Yeah, there's straight up, like... There's things like a woman getting out of a swimming pool that's very reminiscent of the Marilyn Monroe shot that you're familiar with, and then barking at the camera. You know, that kind of thing where you're like...
Yeah, but by then, you've already seen enough weird things to where that's not weird anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? The barking, you're like, oh, right, got it. We've seen other women barking. We've got the dog theme. The dog killer is the only thing... That's the loose end.
He didn't wrap up that one.
No. Not that I recall. Or the owl woman. Those are just things that exist.
And you know what?
That are not actually part of the story.
The owl woman was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved her.
It freaked me the F out.
The way she walked like one of those cartoon, like the Pink Panther or something, where her feet go in front of her and her back kind of swoops back. She's completely naked, by the way. Completely naked. And she's not a modern gal with the shaved everywhere. No, she's also very cool.
She's got the hair. And she makes this weird noise as well, like like a clicking noise or something. Yeah, it is odd.
Yeah.
And I was like, good. Whoa, that's... Yeah, we're venturing into horror territory there with her, but she's not. Sadly, she's only in a couple of scenes, right? But I was like, wow, she's terrifying. Like, she really is. And there's a gore scene in this movie. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's kind of gruesome.
Kind of crappy though.
Yeah.
Not gruesome enough. Not realistic enough to be good.
No, but I mean, it's kind of a mixture of things. Like and, you know, sometimes when there's a mixture of things, you go, well, this movie just doesn't know what it wants to be. No, this movie knows exactly what it wants to be.
Yeah.
It's got a message right from the beginning.
Also, we're forgetting about a particular movie that won Academy Awards, which was Birdman something, something, something. That was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, Birdman, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was really weird, and you forget that it was surreal, and you're confused, and was this real, or was this not real? I mean, there was a lot of that going on.
But what I kind of liked about this one is it tipped it on its head for me, because I was just in the groove of, okay, this guy's on drugs, you know, he's smoking a lot of weed and weird shit's happening. So, okay, let's just put it down to the weed. But you don't put it down to the weed, because there is something happening. Under the Silver Lake, something is happening. It's real, the way it's presented in the movie.
Yeah, the way it's presented to us, and then I'm convinced.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, he's thinking of this or he's dreaming of this. No, this thing's happening. And, you know, it's not actually going to be that much of a mystery by the end of the movie. You're going to know what was happening. And it is suitably weird and also interesting. I like the idea of the under the mountain bit. like what Under the Mountain actually is. And I did say we were going to do spoilers, but I don't want to spoil that. I think it's really fun, like what it is.
Yeah.
There's I liked how it was filmed. It's interesting all the time. There's like really weird. Do you remember at the beginning? You might not even remember. It was like in the first minute. He's walking. The camera comes running towards him like somebody's running into his face, and then it looks straight up, and a squirrel falls out of the sky.
That was very weird.
Yeah, but it was a cool shot. Like there's a shot like that, which you might not remember by the end of the movie because it happened right at the beginning. There was like, whoa, that's an interesting shot. Like, but then it's gone, and there's lots of that. There's lots of homages to old movies.
Yeah,
his mother even phones him up, like telling him to watch.
That's not fully resolved. We don't know what's up with that. She's saying shit that ties into things that,
She tells him to watch this old, and she even sends him this old movie in the mail.
But then he's there, and then the guy says it, and then there's a picture of her in his place. The piano guy had a big picture of her.
Yeah. There's a lot of symbolism of old movies. Look on the walls, there's lots of posters of specific old movies. You could definitely watch it again and look at a lot of stuff. Because I did notice, even video games are brought into this.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
There's a big puzzle going on, and video games are part of the solution. And they play some old video games.
Were you
and there's
excited
a bit
by this?
What?
Were you excited by that?
I did. I'd already clued up and picked up on like video game stuff in the background. I even said to you, there's a scene at the beginning where he's just had sex with not his girlfriend, just somebody he's had sex with every once in a while, right? And she picks up a Playboy magazine from the side of the bed. And he says, that's my favorite Playboy, and she's looking at it. But underneath that was a Nintendo Power with Zelda on it. And I was like, whoa, he has Nintendo Power from the 80s, and he has Playboy from the 60s. I don't know what year this movie is, by the way, do you?
No, it seemed a bit ambiguous.
Yeah, because there's nothing to really pin it down to when it is, even though it's definitely modern, because there's people with cell phones, isn't there? Yeah, there is.
Yes, he has a cell phone, he talks to his mom.
With smartphones and stuff, yeah. So it's definitely modern, but then it feels retro in a way, because there's people
occasionally.
Yeah, but it's hipster also. There's people listening to vinyl, there's playing 8-bit video games. They're watching VHS tapes of movies.
True.
Which, you go to LA, or I don't go to LA, but you see there is those pockets of people who do that stuff. So is it making fun of all that, though?
I feel like it's making fun of almost everything.
Empty.
Except for that feeling that people get of like, what? I think existential is overused, but this sense of what's the meaning of everything.
There's
right?
definitely that.
And then people seeking out meaning in things as frivolous as music, art, whatnot. And I say frivolous being a lover of those things.
Movies.
Also an art person myself. But yeah, looking to solve your problem through other people's fiction and other people's money making off of you for seeking meaning. It's like a loop. Kind of making fun of that, but not making fun of the aching for human relationships and understanding. It's just the system that's put in place that kind of takes advantage of it all. And
the scene where he meets the songwriter, which is quite an interesting scene, immediately reminded me of when Neo met the architect.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, do you remember that scene in Matrix Revolutions where Neo meets the architect, and then the architect spends a bunch of time telling him exactly what has happened? You get the gist after you've left that room. What everything is. This scene also blows it all apart. It's like, oh, wow, that's what happened? That's what's going on here? I really liked it. I just thought
that's not what's going on. That's just part of it.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, yeah. And then I thought, well, I'd be satisfied with that. Because it was a good explanation. And then there was a whole other explanation to something else that's happening that's even more sinister, I guess. Not sinister so much as odd. But very plausible, because people do weird things, right?
Exactly.
And pay to do weird things and think there's more to things than there maybe really is.
Yep.
Yeah, so it deals with a lot of stuff. It definitely deals with, like, what... I just read, 2 reviews of this movie. We just watched a video review of it, and the 2 reviews I read said that this movie's so sexist, and it's really exploitative to women, and what do you think of that as a woman?
I can't speak for all... What do I think? I'm speaking for the whole gender, the specific gender of females. I didn't get that because I felt like it was commenting on, again, an overall thing of however long humans have been selling each other bullshit that's been fed to you. And they showed real ads of women in ads selling things, sex sells in very, not promiscuous, submissive positions to men. I mean, those are real, right? So the idea that this guy's been sold the idea of you get a porno mag or a Playboy, whatever, to jack off because a woman is just tits and a vagina to look at so you can get off. And then here in life, you can just pick and choose whatever women with no emotional attachment, just fuck them and leave them. No big deal. He's been sold all of that.
Yep.
But it's pointing that out to you. And yes, there are young women dressed in outfits that are like sexy and they're
topless women,
what they're
naked
doing.
women.
We're talking about prostitution. We're talking about, maybe a different interpretation of what prostitution is to different people, young actresses having to literally prostitute themselves, sex for money, versus the idea that, like I said, if you want to be an Academy Award winning actress on whatever your perception of that level is, and you end up standing in a bikini at a Comic-Con with a pack of gum in your hand that's got Zelda on it, because that's the only way you can make some money to pay your rent, then that's prostituting yourself in another way. So I think, but it's also pointing that out to you. It's not using that to titillate you. If you're titillated by these young women and this message coming at you, then that's kind of your own fault.
Yeah, you're not really getting the point at all.
You're not absorbing both things where you go, oh shit, I just did that.
I would say...
But there was a lot of naked boobs. There was a lot of smoking.
I would say if you're titillated, though, by...
Oh, and let's not forget he punched a kid, which was hilarious.
If you're titillated by the naked parts, you're not looking under the silver lake, because... That is the shiny surface that they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That you're their customer.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the one they want.
The flashing, the cool looking lights and the flashy looking things on the surface are there to distract you from actually what is really occurring. Andrew Garfield did actually beat the shit out of some kids.
Well, they deserved it, the little punks. Jeez Louise.
Also, they made a funny Spider-Man joke with him. And
a Garfield joke.
They actually took the Spider-Man joke from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where he goes to pick up a comic off his table, Spider-Man comic, and it sticks to his hand.
Oh, was that? I didn't get the whole thing. I just saw the comic. But.
So they did that actual joke with Andrew Garfield. What was it that was on his hand? Bubblegum.
Questionable.
Yeah, something that the kid squirted on
probably.
his car was on his hand when he woke up, and he went to pick his comic up and stuck it to his hand, and it happened to be Spider-Man. So there was that.
I'm not a huge fan of inside jokes, but I get it. It's cute.
And there was, what else was there that was bananas in this movie? Think about all the things. There's a lot of stuff in this movie. You could talk about a lot of things. Was there special effects of any kind? I guess.
I mean, the mansion on the hill, that wasn't real. So that was kind of weird.
No.
You know what I mean?
There's a strange, group that's actually played, the Dracula
Jesus and the Bride of Dracula.
Yeah. That's actually, there's a group in there that are actually played by a real group. The Silver Sun Pickups.
He did a good job when he had to do his lines, that guy.
Yeah.
Whoever he was. Did a good job.
The part where he was on the toilet.
Yes, oh my God. You don't see people shitting in movies either. So this just went right for it.
Yeah, it did. It went for it in the nudity parts, where it was just, it did a sex scene at the beginning with Andrew Garfield and that girl, and it was, That's
what I'm saying. It's got the things that... If you're looking for TNA, well, you don't get a lot of, well, you get his ass more
and you get
women's.
her boobs.
Yeah.
I mean, you get get a sex scene and you get like naked women and
so I can see how people on the surface, if they're not trying to think about what the story is that you're watching, they'd be like, oh, all these women are naked. They shouldn't be naked.
That's why this is interesting.
It's
layered. It's a layered thing.
It's an onion.
Some might say it's too many things going on, but I don't think that.
I feel like it comes together well, and yet you're still longing for the dog killer thing or the woman owl.
And the other thing is, it's like nearly 2.5 hours long, so I think that might put some people off. You know what people are like. Oh God, it just goes on too long. But I was never bored of it. I was like, no, I want to see what he wanders into next, because he seems to just be wandering from one weird situation to another, and nothing ever is uninteresting. Like every single thing.
Agree.
Goes to this weird, like, do you remember when he goes to the weird hipster kind of thing on the balcony, and then some woman comes up to him and gives him a cookie. She says, "Oh, this cookie's like the ticket to my event tomorrow night. So don't eat it or break it or anything, because you have to have it when you get there." When he gets, I don't know if that's a thing in LA. It could be, couldn't it?
Who knows? I mean, you can make up anything to make up a weird party.
Turns out the cookie's got something in it.
And when you show up, they make you eat a bite of it.
Only a bite, though. But he decides to eat the whole thing. So.
Again, that's one of the... I feel like there's an inside joke about another movie, but I don't know. I could have been making that up. When Bill Murray shoves the entire piece of angel food cake in his mouth at the table on Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And so he just shoves the whole cookie in his mouth. We've all done it. And then, don't be ashamed of shoving entire cookies in your mouth. And
then the next thing, he's in this place called The Cavern, which is like an underground bar / nightclub. And all the tables are like the tombstones of like different film stars.
And that's super pretentious, but I imagine that's got to be real.
Yeah, like that. But it's another place where you're like, oh, whoa. Like, this is kind of skeezy, but it's interesting at the same time.
Skeezy. I like it.
And the people that he meets, like that girl in there, the balloon lady.
Yeah.
They're just interesting characters. But then when you might ask like, oh, what is the whole thing about? It's kind of, you'll know what it's about by the end of it.
Well, when she says, I mean, I'm here, so I might as well make the most of it. It's like how many people come to accept the choices they've made in their lives. Marry somebody you don't really love, get a job you don't really like, have kids that you never really wanted, live in a place you don't want to live in. And a lot of people just shrug their shoulders and go, well, this is it. I mean, I'm going to be dead anyway someday, so fuck it, I might as well just do this. And then self-medicate themselves through the whole experience. So I feel like that is kind of like, it's just life. It's all boils down to a very simple concept.
Yeah, the homeless come into this.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield says that statement he makes about hating the homeless.
Yeah, interesting. Also, punch the kid,
I was
hates
like,
the homeless,
that's a hot button topic. He's saying he's like, I hate the homeless. What he doesn't like about them is like they're aggressive to him and they're just hanging around. It's like
they're watching us live our lives.
Yeah, it's like they're on the edges looking at us,
and it creeps him out.
They can't do what we can do, but they're just looking, and he feels that they're jealous of us. And I'm like, wow, that's like an interesting thing to say about the homeless when most people
what person did this writer encounter who said that exact thing as they were walking down the street?
Or is this this writer's opinion of the homeless? But I was like, ooh, that's some touchy stuff you're saying there.
But honest.
Yeah. So it's full of stuff like that. And it's hard to like nail it down to what this is, but for me it gets the vibe of what I like. There are many movies that I've liked that are similar in tone to this. And I don't know what it is, why I kind of stick to like those movies.
Well, you're kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, maybe.
Own it. Just own it. It's all right.
Yeah. Maybe, because, if I got 100 people in this room and got them all to watch this movie, I would say like 5 to 10%.
Statistical analysis on people who don't exist.
Yeah, I would say 5 to 10% would think this was an awesome movie. It's not going to be like, you're going to get most people saying, "Oh my god, that was so boring. What was that?" Right? I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't actually think most people would hang in there.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't even watch it.
Yeah.
Right? 20 minutes, they'd have turned it off. Oh, I've seen enough. You see some stuff in the first 20 minutes, though, don't you? You see a explicit sex scene. You see a woman barking, possibly.
But as soon as things go weird, I think people are like, I'm out.
Yeah, maybe that weirds them out a bit.
Yeah.
But it does have, I feel like it has a lot of stuff interesting about it to make it an interesting movie. So, yeah, there are a lot of people in this movie, but then you won't know most of them. Because most of the people are cast, like, in fact, there are characters called Green Miniskirt, Blue Miniskirt. There's actress.
No, it's not sexist at all.
No. But there's a lot of people in the movie, but the people who you'll be experiencing, the main people are Andrew Garfield, obviously, I think plays it brilliantly all the time. He's funny. There is a lot of funniness to him. The way he moves, the way he kind of walks about. Sometimes he's a bit stoned, sometimes he's not, but he's got an awkwardness to him. Oh, we didn't even mention that he gets squirted by a skunk early on in the movie.
Also, there's a smell early because the lady who comes around to have sex with him says something smells. So I think it's a recurring theme in his life.
He smells a bit.
Well, that he's been sprayed by skunks before. Because we see him she says, what's that weird smell? And he goes, there's a lot of skunks around here. And they spray over there. But then we see him get directly sprayed. So I'm thinking it happens all the time.
And then we see him having a bath and pouring tins of tomato soup into the bath, which I was like, well, I think you need more tomato soup than that, Andrew.
He had a whole bunch. There was about 10 or 20 of them sitting around.
After watching Johnny Knoxville get sprayed with the
real deal
skunks, he doused himself in I've never seen so much tomato stuff. Whatever it was, tomato paste or something, rubbing it on you. But yeah, Andrew Garfield at the beginning, it gets skunked. And then obviously you don't get the smell of skunk off you very easily, right? So it's going to be hanging around. Yeah. And many people mention that there's a weird smell. So how did you like Andrew Garfield?
Well, it was really good. I mean, I don't feel like I had a moment when I was like, oh, give me a break. Because, these things can be a bit actorly 101 when you're going for kind of weirdness. Because how do you react when you see a woman barking at you, right? Do you go like super horror? So he had moments when it could have been really cartoony, but I didn't think it ever was.
How do you react when a naked owl woman is coming up behind you?
But anyone can say that about any movie that's superhero fantasy fiction or any Star Trek, Star Wars, anything. You know what I mean?
I have to say, it terrified me, the owl woman. And you don't see her very much, but I was like,
freaky.
She is freaky.
Effective.
Riley Keough, I think that's how you say her name, plays Sarah. You'll know her from... What do we know her from?
I don't remember, but I know I've seen her.
That awesome movie that I love. What's it called?
There's only one?
Well, she's been in a couple, right?
I don't remember.
But the one I'm thinking of is the one with Shia LaBeouf. The one that I really love. American...
American Honey. Yeah. Oh, you mean this is Presley?
Yeah, she's Priscilla Presley's daughter.
Granddaughter, isn't she?
No, Elvis's granddaughter.
Elvis's granddaughter. Okay, yeah. Got it. No, I didn't. I mean, I knew I'd seen her before, but no, she was really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
she didn't have to do a lot.
She's not in it a lot.
She's very natural.
But I really like her. Watch American Honey. Awesome movie. Also a bit odd.
Also, I was going to say, it's so subjective. I wouldn't just flat out say to people to watch it.
That's the first time I'd ever seen her in anything, and I was like, wow, she's really good. She was also in the Florida Project, I think. Right?
Was she the mom?
No, she was a friend, though.
Might have been.
The one who was telling her, yeah.
I'm not sure if she was or not.
I'm feeling like she was. Ricky Lindholm plays actress, who I really liked. She's the one she's his sex buddy, right?
Right, yeah.
And I just really liked her. I thought I wanted more of her. And when you said, she comes at one point, she comes over, and he's having a bath because he's been skunked. And she's always dressed in an interesting outfit because she's going for these parts, right?
Correct.
But it almost looks like she's going for porn parts because how she's dressed is kind of...
Yes.
What part would you be going for in that? She's dressed as a
commercial.
Nurse. She's dressed as a... What else is she dressed as when she first turns up? Like a... I don't even know
remember.
It was kind of like Britney Spears or something. I don't know. But she's really fun. She comes, you talk to him. There's a relationship between them. But I don't know how close they are. She can't deal with the smell, the skunk smell.
Yeah, she hangs in there for quite a while.
And then she leaves, and then you just don't see her again. And I was like, oh, I really liked her. Wanted to see her again. Topher Grace plays Bar Buddy. See, people in this movie have weird names. You like Topher Grace? He was just in Black Mirror, right?
I do, but in this particular one, he's the most pretentious thing in the whole movie.
And that's the idea, though.
Is it?
I mean, he's like got the little hat on and the sweater. He's like Mr. Hipster.
He's like a fucking one of those dogs with one of those dumb hats on. That's what I thought of him like. Somebody put those dumb dogs on those pug dog, dumb hat.
It's the little hipster hat that's like the thing.
So dumb.
So cool, but it's not.
Subjective, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the whole thing, I love that scene. He's like sat with Andrew Garfield. They're having a chat in the backyard, and he's like, oh, I've got a drone. And then he's like, where'd you get the drone from? And he goes, Amazon, like everything else. And then he flies the drone out. And they're using the drone to like spy on this woman. And he's like saying, this woman's really hot. Like she must have been a supermodel or something. But then they're looking through a window.
And she's just crying, and they're like, oh.
At first she takes the shirt off, and she's just in a bra. And
it's like titillation has rules. You can't titillate someone if the other person is actually emotionally distraught.
So they look in, and he's like, yeah, have a look at this. And then they look in, and she takes the top off, and you're like, I think they're like, ooh, this is going to be good. But then she just starts bawling.
She's not bawling. She's just crying quietly to herself.
That's how you would...
No, bawling is like... That's
what it seemed like.
No, she wasn't.
But you couldn't hear it because there was no audio. There.
She was not. She was just quietly... Something in her life was really upsetting. She just was quietly, probably silently crying to herself.
In my mind, I made my own story.
Yeah, you're a man, so we're going to go with that.
In my mind, I made my own story.
No offense.
What?
No offense being a man, but I mean, if you don't identify that emotional cue.
Well, in my mind, I made the story up that she just had a casting couch with somebody like Weinstein. And
I see.
And she'd come home, and it was like,
the most horrible
this whole thing is killing me,
Okay.
But they're looking at it like trying to look at it in a titillating way, but then they're both like, It's just awkward.
It's not so titillating when she's actually emotionally distraught.
Yeah, so that was really interesting scene. And like I say, there's so many scenes like that I was now they're all coming back to me. Like, there's a lot of things in this movie, right? There's a lot of little scenes, and then you think while you're watching it, you think, oh, is that scene important? But when you think back on this, is like a good movie where you can think back and go, oh no, I don't think anything here was like superfluous or trying to just be in there for being weird. It's actually part of the scenario.
I mean, we can say that because we liked it. If we hated it, we would probably have a different interpretation, maybe?
Yeah. And finally, Jimmy Simpson plays Alan. Jimmy Simpson, you'll know him from Westworld, actually.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. He's really funny. Really weird. Yeah. Acted really bizarre.
Yeah, he's just like his kind of hip friend who's kind of knows people and kind of like mover and shaker kind of guy, hangs around the clubs. And
I don't know. I didn't take him as that because that sounds a little too put together.
Seemed to know
he seems
people.
So vapid.
Because he'd be like, do you know a person who does this? And he'd be like, oh yeah, I know a person. I'll take you to him.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He didn't do anything. He just talked and then he'd walk away weirdly. He never accomplished anything.
He's always trying to hit on people, it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but directed by David Robert Mitchell. He directed It Follows. He also directed another movie before It Follows, but I've not seen that one. But I do really like It Follows. I think it's a very good horror movie. And I'm still a fan. I think this is good too. I like it when directors don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't follow a thing. Like Jordan Peele, he's obviously following a thing now, isn't he? He's like...
I mean, I don't know. He may have something else.
Well, he even said at the end of the extras last week, I'm not going away from horror anytime soon.
Right.
So he's doing horror. He got a hit with a horror, and now he's making a bunch of horror, right?
Well, one, though. We haven't seen him do 10 horror
Well, we've seen him do one, and we've seen him do that kind of scenario in The Twilight Zone. It's the same kind of thing as his movies.
The horror aspect.
So he's got a thing, whereas this guy it's clearly not a thing, is it?
I disagree with you because I think it is. But
what is the thing?
Like I said before, there's this dream alternate reality that is the pervasive thing. Like It Follows it feels real, but then even after you've watched it for just a few minutes, you're like, oh, it's like looking at a drawing of a person. We all know what people are supposed to look like. And if you get the face or the eye proportions just off enough, you're like, it's a person, but I'm uncomfortable. Like, that's a real drawing of a human, but it doesn't feel right. That's how his movies are. And also the questioning of things, because It Follows has that element of pointless interactions that have no value, that offer nothing to our lives whatsoever. Except causing pain, possibly, in your life, right? We're not going to say what it's about, and this one is definitely about that. There's so much vapid unconnectedness in this movie. I feel like that they're very similar. They look very similar. They have a similar, not desaturation necessarily, but they're not dolled up at all. You are walking down a street. You are. What are some of the other, like in LA? Just kept thinking, like, this is just LA. This is not like a set. It is like he's walking up the street in LA. And it's not even that interesting to look at. You know, it's half dead trees and a sidewalk and some houses. And the same with It Follows. It's very like they're in a neighborhood and then they're at the lake thing or whatever. It's very just in camera, the world. But what's happening in the world feels like, just a little bit off.
And it doesn't... It goes up to the Hollywood Hills sign around there. Mm-hmm. But it's mostly like just like suburbs around there and stuff, isn't it? It seems.
No, it's right downtown.
Is that not the suburbs where you go up on those, like, where they were all auditioning for the actresses and stuff?
Not really. That's right near downtown, right near Hollywood.
Right. I think of downtown
suburbs like where we live. It looks like this. That doesn't look... Suburbs of LA look a lot like our suburbs. That's not what that was. That's like the hills coming off of the downtown LA area.
Right.
So up the hills a bit.
It's exactly the place that The Haunting of Hilary Duff was filmed. You know, when we watched that a couple of weeks ago, it looked like the same places to me. I always think of that movie.
No, it really wasn't.
You know the movie The Invitation? When he did the thing with the drone? I was like, oh, that's where The Invitation is.
Well, you're talking about like where Kevin Smith lives and walks up the street. There. That's different than where we saw the guy in the garage or whatever. And the sort of downtown LA stuff. Now, when he was walking up to the big mansion on the hill, that's a different thing. That's outside on the edges more.
There's also a thing in this movie with... See, we don't really know what he is, do we? And that's a point in this movie. Andrew Garfield's character.
You mean, what does he work?
What does he do? People always... That's his thing. He hates it. People always say to him, or like they do to anybody.
To be fair, I thought immediately from the beginning, this is just some dickhead who won't get a fucking job.
See, and you know what I thought? That he's a struggling actor. That's what I immediately thought.
Oh, I didn't.
He's an actor who can't get a job, right, in LA. But it's never mentioned. It's never like, oh, well, he's a struggling... I mean, he knows an actress. He hangs around with this actress.
No, because he tells his mom, I'm at work. So that implies that he's had a job.
He tells his mum he's at work when he's actually just sat on his balcony doing nothing.
Right. So it's like, to me, it's like she thinks he works at Lowe's or something.
Right. But it's never...
I don't know why I think of Lowe's, but, you know.
It's never like, you know...
But that's what I'm thinking. He's doing nothing with his life. He's just sitting here and then pointing out in the dialogue... That's how people seem to give life meaning, is by your job, which I disagree with. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be so judgmental.
So no extras on this DVD that we got for review, but the IMDb reviews will make up for that. So what's the IMDb reviews?
It's you going to find the worst of the worst.
And for this movie, it's a love it or hate it. It's a...
Absolutely. There will be no, it was okay.
There's many 10 out of 10 reviews, and there are many 1 out of 10 reviews. So we'll look at the 1 out of 10 reviews, because they're always interesting. So let's see what people think of this movie. People who didn't like it, what they think. We're the opposite. We did like it. So, first person. It's an unwatchable mess.
Unwatchable?
If I could travel back in time to tell whomever was in charge of making this picture to save their money, time and resources, I would. but somehow I think they wouldn't listen to me. Someone thought that it was cool, new, and interesting to do this film. Unfortunately, it was probably the core group of filmmakers that got behind it and no one else. 2 hours and 19 minutes of bad. I mean, real bad. This movie is bad. It feels like a student film.
Real bad, like your English?
Feels like a student film that was financed by a trust fund that could have been used for anything else other than this.
My goodness.
That's a lot to say about this.
But there's no reason for disliking it. There's no,
No.
The structure of the story isn't good, the dialogue is crappy, whatever.
This guy says, what was this even about? I watched 2 movies this week, and one was confusing, and so was the other. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're into weird David Lynch shit.
Hey, no wonder you love it so much.
I love weird David Lynch shit.
You do. You are the David Lynch guy.
What else we got?
They never disappoint.
Hey, Hollywood, please stop doing drugs, and please stop trying to bring life to your drug-infused reveries. There is much better use for all those resources, time and energy. This film has no reason for being. It's no ideas. It's no meaningfuls. And I'm reading this as it's wrote.
I know.
And it doesn't even have an interesting piece of filmmaking. It's just a waste.
I don't agree with that.
This movie plays out like there's some big payoff, but in the end, it's another suicide thing. Don't try and connect the dots. It's crap.
Suicide thing? I must have missed something.
Well,
really?
No, not suicide, but, I know what he's referring to, but it's not really that.
What is he referring to?
Under the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Cultish kind of.
Okay. I'm trying to connect the dot there.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't even comprehend what we sat through. I've had bowel movements more interesting than this. This is a film that wanted to be clever and quirky, but was boring. Oh, what else we got?
It is. It is what it is. Why are people so, vehement?
What else we got?
I guess I will say for sure when I freaking hate something or how, useless it is or something. So I'm not these people, but I understand.
It's absolutely the most boring film I have ever started to watch. I couldn't even watch more than 30 minutes. I used Facebook instead.
Good use of your time, mate. Good use of your time.
Perfect.
So you let the movie run while you're on Facebook. That's against the rules in our house, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't have a device in your hand or in front of you while a movie is going on.
No, because how can you even pay attention to the movie?
Maybe they were watching it on their phone, and so they just put it in the background.
That's even worse. All right.
Which would also play into your experience of the movie itself.
So that is all the fun and stuff for this week from there. I don't know. When you say, oh, should we tell people to watch this movie? Yes, watch this movie. Just take a dive into this movie under the Silver Lake. And
listen to you.
You might. There's definitely some. Well, it's a movie kind of. I feel like it's in my wheelhouse, made for me. In your wheelhouse. Like they were thinking of me when they made it. But that doesn't mean
I would love for you to think that also.
I would like people who don't like kind of this kind of movie to watch a movie like this and be surprised by it. Because there's,
And not disgusted.
Because there's good performances in here by everybody, I think.
Agree.
Yep. There's a lot of people you don't know as well who are good. Really good. I don't know about the songwriter's makeup. It's kind of a bit... when we watched Captain Marvel a couple of weeks ago and they did that awesome de-aging job on
yes.
Samuel L. Jackson.
This is the opposite of that.
Yeah, this is a aging job, but it's really badly done.
From let's say 87.
Yeah, it's very bad. But it doesn't, because this movie's kind of weird, it doesn't feel weird when you're watching it. I was like, well, okay, we've seen, what have we seen in this movie so far? this isn't weird. It's just right. It just seems right. So it doesn't ruin anything. So, yeah. Would you recommend it to everybody?
No.
No. It's very specific.
I don't really recommend movies. I know this is a movie review podcast, and I do write the reviews, but I still don't recommend. I just say, if what we've said makes it sound even slightly interesting, then go for it.
If you've followed along with our podcast and you've liked movies that I have liked specifically,
and if you like the weirdness, go for it.
Yeah, I think you might get something out of this one, because it is suitably weird, but also, like we just saw in a review for this, somebody said it's weird, but also, what did he say?
I don't remember.
Like approachable. Like it's it's not like so
Those
weird.
Those are the two guys you were listening to, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like so weird, like you won't have any clue what is happening. Like sometimes can happen with David Lynch. Or somebody like that.
I mean, it's so subjective because someone could watch Batman and be like, what? That's not weird. It's a fucking rich guy who dresses up like a bat and has his genius people make gadgets for him. And he fights petty crime and weird people like the Joker and the Riddler and the Penguin fucking guy. Is that not weird to you? Is it only not weird because you're brainwashed and eased into it because it's cuter or you're just more acclimated to it. And it's very straightforward. The Penguin laughs evilly while he's going to blow up a building and Batman swoops in to save them. Okay, it's all very easy to understand. There's nothing deep about it. You know? That's weird. A guy with a cape from another planet landing here and then...
Are we talking about Superman?
Yeah, is it... Do we not question? Like, we could question in galaxies far, far away. You know what I'm saying? So, weird, I know what you mean when you say weird, because we're talking about outside of those straightforward things.
Yeah, the
things
narrative
that you just go, I can't even understand what the hell's going on. I don't even understand. I am challenging my brain here. But then we've watched movies where they're doing that, but it falls flat. Or it doesn't feel like they're really saying anything. Or it's such an inside joke. It's such an inside, overly intellectualized thing that you're like, I'm not in on the joke, so I don't get it. It doesn't make it bad.
Yeah, Under the Silver Lake is saying a lot. And it's not just saying it to be like, oh, I'm cool or I'm...
I mean, they might be. But that's not my perception.
It doesn't come across that way.
Yeah.
It comes across as like, this is saying a lot, this movie, and it's interesting. Like I was always interested. In fact, when it was over, I was like, oh, really? That's the end?
Aw.
I want a little bit more of that. So that's a high recommendation from me.
That is very high.
Next week's removie... What is that? Next week's movie is a movie called Fast Colour. We'll be looking at that next week. So, yeah, watch that. Go and watch it now, and then when you listen to us next week, you'll understand what we were talking about.
Is that how it works every week?
Yes. Recommendations. I am going on two of my... Well, the first one, Mulholland Drive, one of David Lynch's most...
I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, it's I guess his most known movie. It was a bit more commercial than the others. Wouldn't you say? Like, it actually was nominated for... In fact, did it win Oscars?
I don't remember.
Okay, so this movie is a thing about LA and what LA... And so is Mulholland Drive. It's the same about actresses being swallowed up in... How Mulholland Drive operates is it's kind of a murder mystery thing, but it's actually the weird thing about it is how actresses get swallowed up by LA. And
I'll be honest. I watched it once and I did not understand it.
Yeah, well, it's metaphor.
I'll have to watch it with you because to this day I'm thinking I watched this once sitting alone on a couch drinking beer, probably right when it came out on VHS.
Yeah,
and I didn't dislike it, but I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Did you
and I had
go
no one
into
to
it
ask.
Knowing what Lynch was all about?
No.
Well,
I didn't know David
right?
Lynch was till I met you. Hardly. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of him obviously, but no.
If you went into it that way, I imagine it would you'd be like.
But I've always liked things that you're like, oh, So.
Yeah, well, and the unique thing about Mulholland Drive is it's a pure David Lynch movie. You have to really be into it and delve into it and take it, but what's unique about it is it was sold as like a Hollywood movie. It was in the multiplexes. It was, it's like a Trojan horse to get you to go and watch this crazy art movie. And then, like you just said, you might have watched it and gone, this isn't what I'm used to. What is this? I don't know what's happening. So you'd probably see it differently now after you've watched Twin Peaks, all of it.
Probably, and I'm older. I mean, this is 20 years later.
But yeah, I understand how...
30? I don't know when it came out.
Yeah, it came out in the 90s, right?
Don't remember, but...
Early 90s.
Okay.
So that's my first one. And my second one, and this is a movie, Paul Thomas Anderson being my favourite director.
Is he?
Yeah, pretty much my favourite.
What about Tarantino?
Director. No, I think Paul Thomas Anderson's my number one favourite director.
Jeez Louise, this is a revelation.
But he made a movie called Inherent Vice, which is my least favourite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I've only watched it once, I'll tell you that. Because it didn't click with me at all, and all of his movies have, apart from this one. But I could definitely place it in a category with Under the Silver Lake, because it has an odd vibe about it. It's about LA, right, again. Mm-hmm. And it's got this odd, because it's about a drug guy, a guy who's on drugs a lot. So there's a lot of...
He only did once. Well, he ate the cookie.
No, I'm talking about in this...
Yeah, but I'm saying this movie we just watched.
Well, it was alluded that he'd been smoking and stuff towards the beginning of this movie,
Yeah,
right?
just that, though. Yeah. Not that he does a lot of drugs. That's not correct.
But I'm really saying, like, I wasn't saying that was this. What I'm saying is that Inherent Vice is a lot more like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, because it's really like, it's not easy to follow, because a lot of it is not real. Then he meets people, and then he's paranoid, and then you're like, is that person a real person? It's that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's well made. It didn't do anything for me. I need to see it again. So I'm going to recommend it, because I'll recommend it to myself. I need to see it again. And yours are?
That's tricky, recommending it to yourself. If we're going to go for movies that don't make any sense, that people are like, oh, this new confusing thing up their ass. It's not new. Un Chien Andalou, which is, I believe how you pronounce it, is a movie that was made by Salvador Dali in 1929. I only know this because I took film history courses in college 30 years ago. And it's always stood out because it's one of those movies they show you. It's nonsensical. It's a bunch of clips of weird shit, like a woman getting her eyeball slit open. But then you find out through later, it's actually, like, they zoom in on a woman's eyeball, they slice it open with a cutter. It's actually a cow eyeball.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So, and it's surrealism.
Yeah.
It's nonsensical. It flies in the face, and the intention is to fly in the face of people who want to control everything that you perceive and decide for you. Look, it's a Batman. He's saving the city, okay? Don't worry about it if it's a little weird. We've explained it for you. Like, outside of that. Also in response to other art and things like that of the turn of the century. That century. So, Un Chien Andalou, if you just look it up, it's UN space CHIEN space ANDALOU. So it's Un Chien Andalou. I don't know how to speak French. That sounds right. I think that's French.
Right.
And then, although the other thing is, anything that's zombie, to me, questions all the values that we place on everything in life. If you watch any zombie movies, I'm a particular zombie movie lover. A lot of zombie TV / movies. I don't read a lot of books. I don't read a lot of comics or anything, but in the moving picture industry, I like the zombie idea because it strips away everything except just being alive. And the value, like you look at big cities that are now like full of dead people. The buildings don't matter. The stuff doesn't matter. The diamond rings don't matter. Just surviving matters. And the relationships between people. That might be I'm overthinking the zombie world, but that's what it does for me. It just strips everything away. And, sometimes it's cheap and cheesy, and sometimes it's high quality. Sometimes it's funny, But in the end, it's all about the people sticking together and having valuable relationships. And I think this is what this kind of movie, Under the Silver Lake, is about. Like, how everything is so empty that stuff and ambition and things and the perception of that is more important than this girl who's sitting on the, or young lady who's sitting on the floor in the bathroom with you while you smell of skunk and she's just coming to hang out with you. Obviously, she doesn't want, she's just your friend. That's more important than everything else you're doing, but you don't even realize it. But I'm talking to the character now in the movie.
Nice.
That's it.
Talking of zombies, Fear the Walking Dead started back up. It's quite fun. I like it.
Yeah.
If you dropped off watching the normal Walking Dead because of, I don't know, maybe you got too convoluted. Logic.
Boredom and logic. I would not be watching it anymore if it wasn't for you.
The other show, Fear the Walking Dead, which is the spin-off show, which actually, over the last couple of years, has become, for me, my favourite one of the two.
You are fickle. Fickle.
I just like how it does things differently, the Fear the Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
Rick and all that, it's very...
This one's a bit... It's fun. Like last week, it was a cowboy episode.
It's fun and you can be ridiculous and you don't care that they're being ridiculous. Now, if Rick had gone into a situation where he put on his sheriff's hat and decided to have a shoot 'em up, you'd just be like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
You know what I mean? It has no sense of humor whatsoever.
This one's a bit tongue-in-cheek occasionally.
Yeah.
And it surprises me sometimes, like the opening sequence of this season was like a plane crash. And I was like, a plane crash? We don't see that in Walking Dead.
I mean, it's... I'm a little bit iffy.
We don't see a plane,
on the plane crash. True. But I mean, it was just the same characters we see every other week. It wasn't like there was a plane in the air for the last 10 years and now it crashed.
But it does things, and you're like, whoa, this show's doing more things than the other one does.
Absolutely.
And I said, I think I figured that out. The other show has to pay like huge salaries to all those people. And this show kind of probably doesn't have to pay as big a salaries, but it does more with its budget.
Yeah, and the performances and the people are well written, so it doesn't cut out the quality.
No, and there's another like we had, what's he called? I always call him Lenny, but he's not Lenny, is he? Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan's gone from the main show and now he's in the Fear the Walking Dead. So if you're a fan of Morgan, he's over here now in this other show. But also, who showed up this week? Dwight.
Dwight.
So if you're a fan of Dwight,
spoiler,
who you'll remember as one of Negan's people who got his face burned by
You're talking to these people like they all watch The Walking Dead. Yeah. They don't all.
Well, that guy Dwight is now in Fear the Walking Dead, so it's two of them have moved over. And Dwight is an interesting character to me because he went through a Negan thing, he wasn't really on board with it fully, and now he's looking for his woman, right? Which is
I thought that was a bit hokey, but whatever.
But
there's
his
no,
woman
there's
who
no
has been
possible
abused
way.
by Negan.
Yeah, but there's no way. And if they find her, I'll be like, fuck off, everybody. Fuck off, writers. You're so full of shit.
Well, if I was one of the writers, I'd have him find her because I want that moment where he finds her.
Yeah, wait, you are a hopeless romantic. It's gross, but I accept it.
All right, so that's Fear the Walking Dead. It's on Sundays. A Scully stuff, I want to say, one of my favourite games, and I call it my relaxation game, and you have relaxation games too, right?
Well, if you turn your head, you'll see.
Yeah.
What's on my screen right now?
I would say your relaxation games are Microsoft Solitaire is one.
Yeah.
Number 2 is that Words with Friends or whatever you play with your mum.
Sometimes.
Words.
It comes and goes, but that's not as relaxing.
Cities Skylines would be one of them.
That's what's on my thing in my hand right now. And The Sims
would be one of them. And they're just relaxing.
When you woke up today, I was sitting in here. I'd already been up like an hour, and I was sitting here like, I just have that disconnected feeling. I've already checked all my plants. I do a little gardening. I already checked all them, make sure everybody's good. There've been storms and whatnot. The nephew is still asleep. I mean, he's a college graduate, but I still care about when he wakes up so I can serve him some breakfast. But he was still asleep. All the will's well in the world. I have to be a little quiet so I don't wake you up. So I was like, I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to read anything. So I just sat here and played solitaire for an hour.
So
I'll be honest, solitaire got me through my first marriage. So don't glean anything from that. I'm just saying.
nice.
Solitaire was an everyday event in that part of my life. Solitaire is now a very rare event, but it's like with what you're going to talk about. I completely just, and people will be like, what? Solitaire? But for some reason, it's like Zen, right? You go in the flow and you just, I don't know. You don't have to do a lot of thinking.
So my favorite relaxation game is American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator, depending on what I'm feeling like. So you can drive around Europe or you can drive around America.
How many hours have you clocked?
Like a couple of hundred between them both.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, I have 1,000 hours of City Skylines.
Yeah, but none of this is
not that I'm
idling.
proud of that use of my life.
None of this is like just idling. This is actually driving.
I'm not idling. I'm constantly building. What
you leave it on sometimes and go away.
That's true. I let my cities develop on their own, but I've built that sucker.
So, what Truck Simulator is? It's a game on Steam that you can get on Steam. It's you're simulating being a truck driver, like delivering goods from one place to another. You might think that sounds really boring, but you get to explore whatever you're playing in.
I understand the appeal.
What's really cool, right? I pick up if you just want to play for an hour, just to relax, you put it on. You pick up you get a job off the job board, and it's like, deliver logs from here to here. You start off in your truck, it's realistic, so you have to obey traffic laws and speed in, and you have to fill up with fuel. And you can put the radio on, which is the actual radio in the game. Like, you can tune into any radio station that's in the list. So I end up tuning into the 80s station a lot and just driving. And I'm driving, I'm listening to 80s music. It's really relaxing, and I have to look at the GPS every now and then, or I've got to fill up with fuel in a minute, or I've got to stop at this weigh station to have the truck weighed. Or, I've only got 20 minutes to get this stuff to Walmart where I'm taking it. Not that Walmart would want logs, but let's say it's clothing. But it's just
you never know about Walmart.
It's really soothing to play. Anyway, why I wanted to mention it this week is there is new DLC for American Truck Simulator, and it's the state of Washington. They do a different state. They tend to do like 3 states a year, and this one's Washington. And Washington's quite a bit different from the others because it's, like I just mentioned, logging. There's a lot of logging in Washington, so there's a lot of like complicated dirt roads that you have to take your truck up, like to logging stations to pick up logs to take them back into the city. There's also like a cool ferry that you drive your truck onto that takes you across the water. It's, Washington's a different state to the other ones that I've been driving in. But they're working their way across the whole of America. Eventually, if you buy all the DLC, you will have the whole states, all the states, which is amazing, really, isn't it? That you can just drive anywhere. Yeah. And the roads are realistic. They've got toll booths. They've got swing bridges, trains. It's like you're driving a truck. Apart from, you can even use a steering wheel if you've got one for your PC.
I mean, it's not. And a truck driver would be like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
There are many truck drivers on the American Truck Simulator Reddit who love it because it's so detailed and accurate to how a truck performs.
I still don't think it's just like driving a truck, but I don't know.
You can use steering wheel and pedals. You can really go for that, what would you call it? Realism. Anyway, it's American Truck
but there's no sweat and desperation when you're starving and tired and you've got 1,000 miles left and only a certain amount of time and they won't fucking pay you. You don't have that stress.
I found really funny. There's a guy on Reddit who is an actual truck driver who plays, when he's not truck driving, and he's like stopped, he plays this game as he's
I can identify with that.
Yeah.
I get it.
So he's in his truck, he's on his laptop, and he's actually playing the game. And people are like, have you not had enough of trucking? He's like, no, this is cool. I can build my own business in this truck game. And I have all my drivers. Yeah. And, it's like a business simulator as well. You hire drivers, and you make money. And you have a big trucking firm eventually, and maybe eventually you can just drive and see the sights while all the other people make money for you. So that's American Truck Simulator Washington. You can find it on Steam. I also Forza, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. They had an update to Forza that added a new DLC that brought Lego Speed Champions into Forza. So they made a Lego expansion for Forza, and this led me to understand that Lego make, like, I love cars, right? Like, I've always loved, like, sports cars and driving games. Well, there are Lego Speed Champions line of products that are sports cars. So I like making Lego. I don't do it very often. So I purchased one of these and made it. What was it? What kind of car was it?
The first one?
Yeah.
Ford Fiesta.
A Ford Fiesta Rally Edition, yeah. So,
we happen to have a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, so I made one of those because we have a Ford Fiesta, yeah. So they're very inexpensive. They're like $8 to $10, these little kits. There are a couple of hundred pieces. They do take a while. We've found it take about 2 hours to make one. And when you've made it, you get a really cool model of whatever car you're building. So I bought one and made it, really enjoyed it. I ended up buying another one, a Ferrari that I made yesterday. Also, it's awesome. It looks really cool. I'm going to put them on top of my PC case when they're all done. And I'm going to get some more, I think, because they're just fun. Lego... Do you agree that Lego is fun?
Yes, but I like to build whatever I want.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be into, like, what I do, follow the instructions
Correct.
And make a thing.
Correct.
Now, there's a thing to doing that I really like. I like... Most of the fun of it is seeing how it is built, Because they're actually quite complicated and there's a lot of little pieces. And when you're building them, there's often moments where you go, wow, that's really clever what they've done there. Like, I would not think of turning that piece upside down to create that thing. And a lot of times that happens with them. So I like the following instructions. There's something really soothing about it. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle. I've equated it to. Because you've got all the pieces on the table and then you make a thing, right? That's
and
how
it can
feels.
only be one thing.
Yeah. Where, same with the jigsaw puzzle, right? The pieces are there and then the final product is the thing. That's how I feel these Lego kits are. And, I love them. I'd love to make a really big one, but I'd never pay $600 for a Lego kit. It is insane. But at $8, like, for a couple of hours and then you get a cool car at the end of it, I don't mind them. So the Speed Champions series, I think there are 6 cars that you can buy. 3 of them are actually in the game Forza. So that was really cool because I can see the car on my desk. And when I'm playing in the game, it's like, wow, look how it's the same thing. It's in the game. So I recommend them. Lego Speed Champions. If you like cars and you like building Lego. I don't think they're for young kids, though. I think they're kind of hard to build for young kids. Do you know what I'm saying?
It depends on the kid, but they got some tiny parts.
Tiny
parts. You want to
parts.
do it with them.
There's a lot of stickers to put on, which are kind of fiddly and small, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pieces, and a lot of very small pieces. I imagine like a smaller kid wouldn't... I don't know what age they say that you should be. Maybe 7 or 8? I don't know. But they're not the easiest to put together. It's not big. Everything's real small, but they do... How good do they look when they're done? Like, they look really good. Like, they're a solid little replica of the car that you've done. So, I will get some more of them. I've got them in my Amazon wish list, and I keep looking at the price. When the price fluctuates, when it gets down to that $8 mark, I just get them because they're fun.
Because you love them so much, you don't want to spend more than $8.
No, well, I've seen them fluctuate up to $15 and then down to $8. So because I know that they sell at $8, the $15 when they're at $15, I'm like, nah, I'm not paying $15.
Right.
Because that's just inflated. You know why they inflated? Because the game came out and people like me started buying them. So anyway, Lego Speed Champions, really fun, and I can't wait to do another one. So what's for dinner, Sutak?
Tonight will be some form of sandwich and mashed potato and a vegetable.
Yum.
Unless... No, that's it.
Yum. I like a sandwich. I like sandwiches.
I like a sandwich. It's not a sandwich.
What is your advice?
S-A-N-D, W-I-C-H.
You can search on Amazon.com to see how much it cost.
A-Word is talking to us. We call her A-Word. She's actually...
I said to you, what is your advice? And the
She
Amazon
misinterpreted.
device.
You know why? Because she's always listening.
What did she say, though, just then?
She'll tell you the price on something. I don't know. My advice is don't have an Alexa. No. I like them. I don't know what my advice is today. I'm sort of up in the air. My advice would be stop looking to other people and other things to decide what matters in your life. You get to decide.
All right.
That's it.
Well
Very
said.
concise today.
I told you at the beginning of the show, in the intro, where you can listen to this podcast. But you can also catch us on Sid Talk on Instagram, me on email. Thanks for the guy who emailed me this week to say how nice our podcast sounded.
Very good.
I do a lot of messing with the audio before you hear it. I cut out all the background sounds, and hopefully it sounds good to everybody. You can also email me, like this person did, at ascully@ascully.com. And I want to say, stay classy, Mr. Andrew Garfield. What a really great film. I had a really good time watching this week.
Very nice. And I'm going to say think for yourself, or someone will do it for you.